Where I want to start is the cost savings.
Yeah.
You have a number to put with that?
No, not off the top of my head, and I don't. So what we did was we have software that allows us to see what software is being used and utilized in all the PCs. And we actually just got this late last year, November-ish. And so, we knew that we had an issue, and this is nobody's fault. It was just over time, each department would buy their own stuff, office products, and we have everything from Office 97 to 2015. Just depends on when it was purchased, right? That makes the passing of documents, the reading, the opening of documents, just from a productivity piece, cumbersome. Because if you've got 97 and I've got Office 2015, if I save it in its normal standard, you can't open it. Mm-hmm. You've got to have somebody has to install another piece of software on there to allow you to open it. On top of that, I've got a group of developers that develop, product apps and software applications for the entire county. So when we can right size, and everybody has Windows 7, for example, with a particular service pack, and we're controlling the Windows updates, that makes their jobs a lot easier. They don't have to develop for XP, which is no longer support, which we still have in some areas, all the way up to Windows 8, and then this fall it'll be Windows 10. So you're developing across multiple different platforms, and then throw Vista. We have some Vista machines in there as well. So there's hard cost savings in a dollar amount per license, okay. But then there are the soft costs of from a development standpoint against developing against the standardized platform, and that's what we're after.
Well, I know you don't have a specific savings, but do you have a ballpark in mind?
I don't want to tell you something to be wrong. I can do some research, and you and I can have a conversation later on.
Okay.
You're welcome to contact me down there, and we can chat about that.
Okay.
Yeah. And like the example I gave in there of the 37 different versions of Microsoft Office, that's not an exaggeration. That's an actual. I didn't pull that out of thin air.
Right.
We actually, when we ran our test, that's the number we came up with, I think. Yeah.
Now, somebody from my team, it may have been Anita Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
She worked for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. May not have been her. But someone said that the system with the courts was an absolute mess in the sense that it was just patchwork over patchwork. Does this solve that problem?
No, this is so you're talking apples and oranges here.
Okay.
And I wouldn't categorize it as a mess.
Okay.
They're utilizing a language that's called Gupta in some of their applications, not all their applications, in some of their applications. And I'm going to assume that this is what they were referring to. It's just a dated language. It's just not widely used. If that makes sense. I mean, it's akin to Latin. There are people out there that understand it, that can speak it, but they're few and far between, and it doesn't really have use moving forward. So part of what we're after, and part of the reason we're doing this Microsoft piece is you hear me use this sandbox analogy, okay? So it applies to more than just a Microsoft piece. If we buy a certain piece of software, or if the group that I had develops a certain piece of software and application, it's gonna adhere to some specific standards, and basically right now those are, it has to be in a written in something that's common, okay? So like SQL or Oracle as far as the database is concerned. Or the .NET language as an example, okay? Those things are going to be around for a long time. There's a lot of people that can help us with those. There's a lot of people that as we hire people that have that kind of knowledge, and then it's sustainable because it's going to be around for a long time. It's upgradable, and again those items can talk to one another. So now as we move forward, we've got departments, again, nobody's fault, that have grown kind of silos, that they have their particular software applications. But maybe they need to talk to another department or another agency throughout the county. Well, if you write things in like languages, like systems, then now you can pass information. And right now we lack that. So Gupta is a good example of one of those languages. It's not sustainable because there's no future for it. You can't find anybody to help you with it. It's not upgradable, and it doesn't. We can interface with it a little bit, but not in a way that we could with Oracle or SQL or .NET or any of these more prominent languages.
Is there something in the works to fix that?
Yes, we are. We've had some preliminary discussions. I've got nothing specific for you yet. Okay, we know the direction we need to head as far as moving away from that. The question becomes then, can we utilize some of what the e-file system that they're putting in over there to get rid of some of that? The answer is yes. In some cases, we can utilize that. Another question is, do we purchase something? and I don't know the answer to that yet. Or do we develop something in-house, again, in one of these languages? So there's always a question: buy versus develop. That's always that's an we go through that with every piece of application, and every piece of software or application we look at.
Would IT be looking for the courts to bear that expense, or? Well,
I think it depends. Yeah, that's a good question. It's a fair question. First of all, it's going to be a collaborative effort between the IT department and the courts. And once we decide the direction we need to head, and the nice thing about it with this software is the answers will actually start to fill themselves in as we start to narrow it down. I mean, right now our scope is this big, and it's going to eventually narrow down. Once we get to some sort of conclusion, then we'll make decisions about where the dollars come from. And I mean, right now it's just way too early to answer that. So we're literally just had some very high level discussions about the directions we need to head.
Yeah. How about the time span for implementation? I know that you spoke to it in the commissioners' meeting. Yeah. Where are you going to be starting, and what do you envision? And again, not pinning you down to specifics. Yeah. What's the time frame for implementation going to be?
So, as far as the software goes, also in the budget that was approved for us, we have the dollars approved to get rid of these XP machines. That again, they're no longer supported by Microsoft, so we'll get rid of those. We also know where all the machines are that we can upgrade to Windows 7. So we know where those are. We know where the machines are that need RAM, as an example. They have the processing speed, but they might need RAM. So we know where those are located. Again, with our CASE software, we understand. CASE, if you're putting this in there, is KACE.
Oh.
If you're putting that in there.
Yeah. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah. So it's with our case software, we know we've already run the reports, we have all the data, and that's huge for us. Is just knowing what we have and where we have it. So where we're going to start, to answer your question, we've got some low hanging fruit. So those are the machines that might have Office, let's say 97 on them, as an example, but might have the guts inside of them to run 2013 or 2015. Okay, so also with case, we can push this stuff out remotely. So we don't have to go touch each machine any longer. So those days are now behind us. So we can push out versions of Office to those machines that can handle it when we're ready to upgrade that. And that's going to happen very soon. Now, we have to be careful. We don't want to do too much too fast. We need to have some lunch and learns kind of thing, because if you've used Office over the years, you know that it's kind of evolved in its look and feel and where things are located. So we're not just going to throw it out there because we can without doing a little bit of training. So over the course of the next month or two, you'll see Office start to get updated. You'll see OSs, those that can move from XP, those few machines that we have that can move from XP to 7, those will start to get upgraded. We'll also start the process to get rid of to move away from GroupWise. Now that's going to be a lengthier process. That's probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 months. There's a lot involved with that. It's not as easy as just installing Exchange and then just one day we're using GroupWise and the next day we're using Exchange, because we've got to look at how do we want to how much mail do we want to move in, how much do we want to keep. But there's a lot to that. And then also there's some behind the scenes stuff that nobody really cares about other than my department. It's, the server. What can we do from a server perspective to upgrade that software?
So are you trying to get everything into Windows 7 with this latest purchase, or will some of them be Office 2015, 2000?
Okay, good question. So Windows 7 is the operating system, and so that's the operating system. So the answer to that question is yes. We eventually want to be across the platform where it's applicable. There'll be very few places where it wouldn't be running Windows 7. As whatever that would be, we'll run the same thing. And now the productivity software, that's Office that everybody's kind of familiar with Word and Excel. The question becomes, what version do we want to use, 13 or 15? And I don't probably, it wouldn't make any sense, to run half and half. Half people on 13, half people on 15, even though they look the same. So the intent would be to, again, everybody running the same version of that. And
how about the cloud version of Office?
Well, we looked at Office 365.
Okay.
And at this point, it didn't meet our needs. Now, from an expense standpoint, really no difference. You're paying a license. It just didn't meet our needs right now.
I get it.
We had multiple discussions with Microsoft.
I see.
And Dell. So it's not like we narrowed in on one thing. We looked at all options. this was the best for us right now. Now, at any time we can move away from, once we're enrolled, we're enrolled.
Isn't that what the future holds for just about all software?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, there are you can make the case in almost any application. Do you host it in the quote unquote a cloud, or do we have it on our machines? That's as we move forward, you'll see more a lot of things move that direction. Sort of part of what we're doing in this whole thing is we have a great data center, and we can do things, again, buying in bulk. And you've heard me talk about this before, a couple of purchases we made. So we're starting to centralize some of the departments. So again, if somebody has aged equipment, rather than them going out and spend, as an example, $50,000 to replace all of their hardware, we can do it for 10. And we have the expertise on staff to maintain it. And their data is backed up at that point, et cetera, et cetera. So you could consider that working in the cloud from those various departments, because now you're using our data center.
Right.
I just want to make sure I refer to you properly as Seth.
Yep.
Peterson.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And would it be proper to refer to you as Stark County's Chief Information Officer, or are you CIO?
Yeah, that's fine. Stark County's.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Can you give us a little bit of a background, your own technical background?
Well, I was a CIO in healthcare prior to coming here.
Okay. And how long you been with Stark County?
Since August of last year. Yeah.
Okay.
So fairly new.
Is this something Stark County came after you, or you?
Yeah, they talked to me about the position, and they've got they've had a lot of these ideas. Talking with Alan and the commissioners and some of the folks over here, a lot of this, they had some, well, we'd like to, or we think we want to kind of ideas, and so they needed somebody to come in and just kind of help them put those things into motion, and that's kind of where I came in.
Are you interested at all in taking input from the general public? For instance, I'll use myself.
Yeah.
I deal a lot with data that the Stark County Board of Elections deals with, and I'd like to see them make a lot of this data available in a spreadsheet. Are you interested at all in taking input from users?
Sure. Yeah, I saw a sign the other day at Facebook's new headquarters. Feedback is always a good thing. It's a powerful tool.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll take feedback. Now, whether we can implement that overnight, that's always a different
question.
Well,
it always takes time, right?
It always generates ideas and discussion, and and it could help us deliver a better product. And I can tell you, though, we are already looking at some things with the Board of Elections and the data, and trying to make that whole process, not just the stuff that the constituents see at the end of the day, but the whole process from start to finish a little bit better, a little more streamlined. Yeah, from the website on down.